Imagine this. When polar bears get hungry, nothing can stand in their way, not even humans. Cameras have captured moments so shocking that even researchers were stunned. Want to see how polar bears fight for survival with incredible speed, intelligence, and courage? Then get ready, because we're about to step into the real and wild world of polar bears. Polar bears, massive predators facing climate change, are the largest land carnivores on Earth, naturally living in polar regions. With their enormous bodies, powerful claws, and wide fur that camouflages them in the Arctic snow, they are perfectly adapted to their icy environments. They primarily hunt seals and other marine animals, but in recent years, especially during summer, melting ice has pushed them closer to land and even near human settlements. Climate change and the reduction of the sea ice have forced polar bears to migrate to new areas in search of food. These changes haven't just affected their diet, they have changed their behavior too. In some cases, polar bears have ventured into populated areas and clashed with humans and other animals. One of the most famous and earliest recorded confrontations dates back to October 26, 2007, in Churchill, Canada. Known as the polar bear capital of the world, every year, as Hudson Bay freezes over, polar bears gather there to hunt. That's where cameras captured a brutal fight between two adult male bears over a seal carcass. The scene was raw and violent, both standing on their hind legs, striking with heavy paws, and trying to bite each other's necks. The battle lasted about 12 minutes before one finally backed off and fled. That's the law of the wild. You either win or you starve. The second recorded confrontation between polar bears and humans was the deadly attack in the village of Wells, Alaska, on January 18, 2023. A starving polar bear, driven by hunger, entered the village. At first, it just roamed the streets, but soon after, it attacked people, killing a woman and a young boy. The attack occurred during a severe storm that made access to the village difficult. After the attack, local authorities shot and killed the bear, which was still wandering around. This incident marked the first fatal polar bear attack on humans in Alaska in 30 years. Experts say the reason is obvious. The ice is melting, food is scarce, and the bears are being forced to find other ways to survive. Even if that means stepping into the human world, and once again, cameras caught it all. Alright folks, now that you have liked this video, let's move on to the more footage showing the polar bears' desperate struggle for survival. After the Alaska incident, the third set of footage was recorded in April 2025. When a Norwegian worker in the polar city encountered a polar bear in the middle of the street. He initially fired warning shots to scare the bear away, but when he charged toward him, he dropped his gun and escaped using a snowmobile. This incident was filmed by tourists skiing nearby. The fourth and the strongest footage came from an attack on a wildlife filmmaker in the Arctic. In this rare event, a documentary filmmaker ventured into the polar bear's territory to capture close-up shots, and as a result, the bear attacked him. This incident highlighted the dangers of human presence in wildlife habitats. Afterward, regulations and restrictions of photographers and filmmakers in these areas became much stricter. Since polar bears are at the top of the Arctic food chain, they rarely encounter other predators, so there aren't many recordings of such events. However, in some cases, they have clashed with brown bears or grizzlies, usually over limited food sources. Many still think polar bears are just cute, fluffy creatures sliding on ice and fishing. But the truth is far darker. Polar bears are among the most ferocious and dangerous predators on the planet, and when food runs short or territory is threatened, they fight a war that only has one winner. These events deliver a clear message. The polar bear is no longer the solitary, harmless predator of the North. The pressure of nature, climate change, and food scarcity have completely altered its behavior. Now, more than ever, Bears are entering each other's territories, fighting over food, approaching camps, and even attacking humans. This is not just violence, it's a fight for survival. If polar bears didn't live so far from human cities and other animals, their attacks and territorial aggression would likely to be far worse, maybe even surpassing that of grizzlies. Even so, polar bears are still seen as symbols of strength and resilience against the harsh Arctic environments. But climate change and food shortages are driving them closer to human areas. This poses not only a threat to humans, but also exposes the bears themselves to new dangers. So, my friends, it's your turn to decide. Are these animals truly terrifying or not? The reality of nature is far darker than what we see on TV documentaries. If you do not want to miss the continuation of these reports and want to dive deeper into the darker side of this story, make sure to subscribe and tell me in the comments. Who do you think is to blame for this uprising of the bears? Nature or humans?